As long as I can walk about, that's all I'm bothered about. It's not going on camera. Is it listening to me now? I'll talk. Go on then. I always wanted to be a nurse from a little girl.
All sorts. I wanted to be a train driver, a bus driver, fire engine driver, all sorts of daft stuff to do with driving. But you grow out of them things and you have to accept reality.
I like the idea of helping people and making them better. That's my inspiration. To be some good to somebody. Something my mum and dad could be proud of as well. I applied.
The chap that taught me my job, he was regarded as the best French polisher in Halifax. So much so that James Mason, the famous Hollywood actor, his parents, who lived at Huddersfield and they were mill owners, always asked for Derek if they needed a job doing. So that's how much they regarded him. He taught me my job, my trade. He taught me a little bit of cabinet making. He weren't a trained cabinet maker, but by golly, he could do it. He also taught me to drive at 17, so I all up to Derek. But the wage wasn't all that brilliant. I decided to change and I went into a manufacturing firm called Reynolds at Bradford. I didn't care for the work because it was mass production and it were all spray stuff, not the stuff I was used to really. But this found me a slot. I were in there, I could do repair works, touch up and things that the others couldn't do because they weren't skilled enough to do it. They'd been brought up on the manufacturing side, like repetitious work really that we're doing. Some were sanding down, some were spraying, some were staining. So they never really saw a complete job right through from start to finish, where I used to do that. But I weren't right keen on the place because there was a lot of dust there and they had this stuff called polyester that they were spraying, and I thought this is not good. Sooner or later there's something going to happen here, so I decided to move and I got a job then working at Elliot Musgraves in the textile trade. Different trade altogether to what I were used to, but still an interesting job, making conveyor sheets for the mills. The interesting part about that was that they gave you a job and you could see it right through from start to finish. And at the end of it, there was something there that you looked at it with admiration, and I've made that, it looks good. And then when you got the chance to see it working, it were quite a delight really. And I stayed there for over 40 years till I retired.
Yes, very hard. Not the nursing side, not working on the wards. I found the academic, side, the writing, the learning, not practical learning, reading learning. I found that hard, but I still passed my exam, so I must have been all right.
My trade now, the French polishing, I don't hear much about it. I think it is kind of more of an art form and probably a specialised job now. I think there is still some there, but there were 3 or 4 French polishing firms in Halifax in my day.
I didn't even know how many hours I was supposed to work, and I didn't know whether I was supposed to have a day off or not. But I liked my job so much I never bothered to try and find out. And I used to just have a day off when they told me you can have one if you want. And it took me a while before I realised there was a rota. But at that time, nobody was concerned how many hours you worked. It was a matter of you had to do whatever there was to do on the wards, and see to things, and then somebody would come and tell you that you could go home.
Well, I was lucky because your mum was a nurse, and a damn good nurse. She had a good wage. She was never out of work, even when she had the children. She was only off a short while, and then she went back. We worked together, and we had a good standard of living.
I wanted children and a nice husband and a nice home, and I got all of those things. I've been very happy with my life. That was Maggie Thatcher. My staff put me forward to be the shop steward. I said I'd only do it, but I wasn't for striking, which was difficult. We had a lot of the hospital where I worked was going to be one of the first ones shut, which it did eventually. It did shut, and the unions did fight hard. That was, I think it was about 79. I used to go. I went to the meetings, but I did not go along with any striking. I didn't want striking. We're nurses. We're not. It doesn't matter what anybody else. What we're aiming for. Striking wasn't the answer to leave people who needed nursing care. Who was going to do the nursing care if we all came out on strike? It just doesn't go together, being a nurse and then talking about coming on strike. Here, where I live, it's lovely, and all round is lovely. We've got the countryside on our doorstep, and it's nice. But I'm afraid the Bradford town, is just being run. It's run down. It's absolutely. It's disgusting. They're not spending any money. There's beautiful buildings there that they've been going to do up for years, and they're no further forward with it. In fact, they're just worse. And they're not going to save them. They're just going to let them tumble down, and that's going to be the end of it. It's neglected. And if you've got neglect, you've got no pride. Is that camera looking at me?
Well, no, I didn't really. I suppose I should have had, but like I say, I wasn't all that much of an educated man myself, and I helped him as much as I could. But for our Greg, for instance, he was struggling at school like I were, but I wasn't having any of that. So, I mean, my parents, their idea was, oh, he'll do it when he's ready, which is wrong. I were a very bad reader. I found it difficult to read. So when our Greg came along and he was struggling reading, I decided to do something about it, and I used to help him on a night. They used to bring those Janet and John books home, and I used to go through them with him every night. He didn't want to do it, but I made him. And he got away with it. He was a good reader. And then our Jeff came along, and he was a different kettle of fish. Were 10 times harder to teach. But what it were, our Greg knew was the alphabet. And I realised then that our Jeff didn't. So I taught him his alphabet, and bingo, that were it. He were away as well. He were reading in no time. So I were able to help him that way, but when it came to jobs and things like that, I just let him get on with it, because I weren't in a real position to advise him what to do, Maybe I should have done, but I didn't. Yeah, that's the way I was brought up, I suppose, and it were different in my day because there were more jobs about. But in their days, jobs were very difficult. They were lucky to get what they did under Margaret Thatcher.
You would join, got a hairdresser's job, and I think it was the best thing for you. Well, you paid to like it. You work with nice people who owned it. Well, I think they were nice, and I think it filled the gap until you were 18 and you went off into Spain. You saw a bit of life. You did what you wanted. Nobody stopped you. And then you came back and did hairdressing again. And then you went to university. Very proud that you did it. Well, it takes a lot of guts when you're getting older. But you didn't have any ties. And it was what you wanted to do. Well, I think it's more to do with photography and what do they call these videos, and what do they call this equipment that you have? Computers, that's it. Yeah, computers. Technology, I think, of computer. I don't know. What? You tell me. Oh, well, I didn't know. I didn't know what it just cut. What, as far as I was concerned, it was computers, and but fine art. I didn't know they came under fine art. I don't know. What? Seriously. Well, I wouldn't have thought computers and would have come under fine art. I would think drawing, painting, model making. But I would have thought computers and filmmaking, because that comes under it, would be something on its own. I don't like the word class because it's making people into groups, and everybody's judged on how worthy they are for everything. And I don't believe that it should be like that. I don't know exactly what word we could use, but I think we're all, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, it's what use you put it to. Do you help others with it, or is it all for yourself? If you're fortunate enough to have a lot of money and be able to do something with it, then the country wouldn't be in such a state. Right, now I think I'll interview you.